past 2 o'clock.
No, it's not. It's 1:59.
Look at the clock.
That thing's off. Look at this. That's the time.
Have you ever been wrong?
No, look at the computer. Don't look at that. That's run by batteries, for God's sakes. I know, I never have been wrong. 99.9% correct. I beat Rush Limbaugh. We certainly have been traveling far. This is Clark with Be Heard coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Have you traveled far to get to the show today? Well, you can be anywhere in the world, by the way, and go on your handy dandy computer and type in radiotribune.com, and up will come a website. Click on radiotribune.com and go to the main website there, and if you're on the right one, or anyone, you'll have some red print there that says Radio Tribune, radio show. You can click on that, or if you're lucky enough to get the one where the microphone pops up, you can click on the microphone and go right to the black screen that is the radio show itself. Click on the play button and you will hear live whatever's being broadcast at that time. If there's no ongoing talk radio show being broadcast live right then and there, you'll probably hear some music. But you can go on there 24 hours a day and see what's happening. Sometimes we play and schedule shows to be replayed. And then the other opportunity you have on that black screen where you hit play, there's a blue writing down there that says archives or old shows. And you can click on that and up will come some thumbnail prints of various shows with dates and who was participating in the shows. Sometimes we have guests and their name will be there. And if you want to replay or watch one of those shows with a video and audio on YouTube, you just click on one of those thumbnails and the show will come up and you hit the play and it'll replay the show for you. And you can watch the people that are participating in the show and you can hear what they have to say. The only problem watching an old show is you can't call in and participate. So that's what the live shows are about. If you are listening right now, you could call us at 702-493-5222 and participate in the show. Right now, we are being streamed live over the internet, so this will be a recorded show that anyone can play at any time in the future, whenever they choose. So it's a good way to stay informed. It's a good way to participate. I look at this show, Be Heard, as something that's like a forum. You can call in, you can say what you'd like to say. We don't screen our calls per se, and we take all comers. You can say whatever you want, and we are a show about solutions. That's our idea. You call us with your idea for how do we straighten out some of these problems in this country that we face, and we keep track of that. That's what I do as a host. I keep track of the recommendations or proposed solutions, and we just keep track numerically. So if someone says, well, I want plan A, someone else says the same thing or agrees with that caller, that's another mark on that plan, and then we keep track and see how many participants agree with a certain solution. Right now, we're leading the way on to get rid of the political parties because they're a mess. They're corrupt organizations. They should be made illegal. Our founding fathers warned us that political parties were led to tyranny. in the old country where they came from, and they warned us that we should never have political parties. They did not provide for political parties in the Constitution, and they probably thought that they were taking care of it that way, but I guess they failed to realize that anything not put in the Constitution was left up to the states if they wanted to do something. And all the states, of course, they get together and on their own they create these political parties. So every state has a DNC and an RNC within their state, and that gets involved in local politics and everything else. The only time that a state and their political party gets involved at any federal level is a presidential election. The states do get involved with their political parties on U.S. Offices for Senate and Congress, because those are actually state representatives that go to the federal government. So even though it's a federal election in a way, it's not. It's a state election for their representatives. So the only time that any political party has any say in a real federal election is for president. And that's, of course, when you get all the corruption and all the despicability that represents in these political parties. Look at the DNC and Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz. What was exposed during their convention was the fact that they were conspiring against an official candidate. Someone that they actually selected was Bernie Sanders to run against this character they had that they owed, I guess, to run for president. It was Hillary Clinton. But they knew up front that she was just a deplorable candidate with so much baggage and skeletons in her closet that they had to put somebody up there. They had to dig up somebody, first of all, to put up there that would be terrible, worse than Hillary Clinton. And how were they going to find somebody so bad? Well, they even went outside of their party, because they have nobody in their party, good or bad, especially good. So they went outside and they dug up this Bernie Sanders, who's been in politics. I guess his first job may have been mayor. I don't know if he was some sort of state legislator prior to that. He might have been, because I certainly haven't been following his career, I'll tell you that. But he's always run, I think, as an independent. And Vermont's a kind of a funny place. I'm from New Hampshire, and I'm kind of familiar with Vermont in that respect, but their politics is pretty strange. You have that senator, I think her name is named Snow. I believe she's another independent, and she never knows which way she's going, but I'll tell you what, she's leaning always towards the communist side of things. And now she's not supporting Trump, of course. So these people that call themselves conservatives, Republicans, what have you, and they're not supporting Donald Trump, to me, is showing their true colors. These are people like Mitch McConnell, who I deplore that guy. I think he's a despicable rhino. He's got no power whatsoever, no moxie. He's just a kind of like a Bob Dole type guy that knows how to reach across the aisle. Forget about reaching across the aisle. You need to reach for the American people, or what's good for this country. It needs to be America first again, like Donald Trump's professing. Here's a guy that's a businessman. He comes to politics out of the desire to straighten out this country, which needs it. I'll tell you what, we're in terrible, terrible shape. Everything is backwards now in this country. And his goal is to do what he can to straighten it out. And he knows how to straighten it out. He has some very good ideas. If you listen to what the man says, and that's what's distorted that he says or claimed that he says, you'll get the right scoop. And listen to him. Don't listen to what's being reported, because the mainstream media is so liberal, it's pathetic. They're not the press anymore. They don't report the news. They report what they determine to be their goal. That's what they're reporting. They're despicable, corrupt organization, the mainstream media. They lie. They absolutely lie. And it's just a bad, bad situation. Well, look at what Trump's doing, because they can't control the guy. He's going to say what his instincts tell him is the right thing to say. I think he's been proven right on just about every single thing he said. I love the way the mainstream media reports his disapproval rating is higher than Hillary's. Who says that? Well, where did that data come from? How do they? It's all lies. Uh, Donald Trump, what has he lied about? I've seen people ask people, uh, reporters and stuff on the street with their microphone. Well, what did he lie about? And they don't have anything to say. Hillary Clinton, my God, ask what she's lied about, and you never stop. I mean, it's my God, she lies about lies about lies. I mean, she is absolutely the worst candidate I've ever been exposed to. And to think that this lady is a nominee of the Democrat Party just shows to me and proves my callers right that have agreed with the solution of getting rid of the parties. I mean, if that's not the number one reason, look at the people they put up there. How could Hillary Clinton have anything to do that would be productive for this country? She's never done anything. The wars going on in the Mideast, the destruction, the mesticizing of ISIS all over the world, the bombing, the shooting in San Bernardino and Orlando, Chattanooga, and now look what's happening. We had the gentle giant, as the mainstream media referred to it. Gentle giant. Yeah, he was so gentle. Tell the clerk at that convenience store that he robbed a box of cigars from. Tell him what he thinks of the gentle giant who picked the guy up and intimidated him to shutting up and stuff. I mean, that's the gentle giant. And then he tries to grab a cop's gun in the cop's cruiser. The gun discharges, and then the cop ends up shooting the guy who witnesses, truthful witnesses, said was charging the cop. So the cop was in fear of his life. The gentle giant was going to attack him, and he already had discharged his weapon. So, I mean, the cop had every reason in the world to fear for his life. He wanted to go home to his children, as anybody would, and he was protecting himself and protecting his family in the process. So he shot this gentle giant. And then what does all the news media and all the despicable people do, and all the black activists and so forth? Hands up, don't shoot lie that was emanated from that story became a lie. Congress had their hands up on some display. All the liberal people in Congress, anyways, the Harry Reid's, the Nancy Pelosi's, and that black congressman. And now look at what they're doing. This movement, Black Lives Matter movement, as they've been referred to, which is another thing that is ridiculous. These people, what is wrong with this movement when they pick a mantra like Black Lives Matter? Okay, that's fine. But when you say all lives matter, they go ballistic. How you have something that you're making it racist by saying all lives matter, you are now a racist. Would you tell me how? The Asian lives matter, the yellow lives matter, Spanish lives matter. Do all these racists and whatnot, do their lives matter? Yes, all lives matter. Yes, they do. All lives matter. What's wrong with that statement? But the blacks, the ones with agendas to divide us and make issues over the past and reparations and all that stuff that happened hundreds of years ago, what is their point? And they're always out of bounds. The fact of that Ferguson deal with the gentle giant, that guy was guilty as hell, and he's dead now. Now they pick on this thing out of Milwaukee, where they had this guy, 13 criminal arrests for serious crimes. When they ended up shooting him, he was pulling out a weapon, I guess. The weapon they found had 23 rounds in it. This, I think, was considered an illegal weapon because of the amount of rounds that it held with a clip or whatever. And, this guy was a criminal, and he was out to kill some cops if that's what it came to. and the cops got him. Now they're making demonstrations, big things going on in Milwaukee, and here again they've picked absolutely the wrong person to make some sort of point. And this black kid with his criminal record of 13 serious arrests, and he wasn't that old, was shot by, a black cop. So, you know, not a word about the 3,000 or 4,000 deaths in Chicago that keep mounting. And that's just this year, I think. Well, while Obama's been in office, maybe, I don't know, but every weekend it seems there's 10, 20 deaths in Chicago, mostly associated, I think, from what I hear, from black gangs killing other black gangs. So it's kind of like a black on black crime, and I guess that's why it's not reported. But why are they making this a big issue in Milwaukee? Why are they having demonstrations and so forth over a black cop killing a black criminal? Does that make any sense to anybody out there? You're welcome to call if you think so, 702-493-5222. And let's hear what the solution is for this mess. I could throw out a solution is stop worrying about the past. And the only way we're going to move on and really beat racism, and I'd say there's racism out there, but I would say 90% of it comes from the blacks. They're the ones that are being racist. We elected the first black president. I'll bet he was only half black, but that doesn't really matter. He certainly looks black. And we elected him as president. Now, that took a lot of white voters to elect that person president. I think most of them are kicking themselves now because they actually elected the worst president ever, is what he's going to go down in history as. God forbid we don't knock him off the ladder with a Hillary Clinton, because boy, oh boy, there's nobody that can top that lady in the worst category. I'll tell you what, Obama's been about as bad as you can be, but that lady she sells out America. Is this what we want for a president? Somebody that's pre-sold the office, the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been donated to the Clinton Crime Foundation? What is that money for? Can anybody ask? Or are they not allowed to ask? I mean, how do you go from the White House dead broke, not only dead broke, but heavily in debt, as represented out of Hillary's own words, out of her own mouth? We weren't just broke, we were dead broke, and we were heavily in debt. Well, one of the reasons they were heavily in debt is because Bill Clinton had all those legal issues and legal expenses with the rapings that he'd done on Nita Broderick and Paula Jones. I think they had to settle out of court. I've heard figures of like $800,000 to Paula Jones. Well, that's why they were dead broke. They had to make all these settlements and so forth to keep people from telling the truth about Bubba and the Bimbo Eruption Squad that Hillary was in charge of. The transferring of Monica Lewinsky out of the intern program at the White House to some other department in government somewhere. The guy named Jordan, I think his name was an operative for the Clintons, and he had a date set up with Monica Lewinsky where he was going to have a discussion with her. I can only imagine what over. And that's when old Monica decided time to get that blue dress out of her closet with Bill's love juice on it. And thank God she held on to that blue dress, because I tell you what, she probably was fixing to join those other trail of bodies that seems to follow around the Clintons. Wherever they go, whatever they do, there seems to be dead people falling around them. Take the DNC for a latest example, with the famous Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the actions that the DNC was involved with. It seems that 3 reporters or people that knew various things about the DNC, probably some pretty damaging information if the truth be known, are now dead. One guy was shot in the back, leaving his apartment, I think it was, and I think he had like a 5 a.m. or something meeting, I believe, with the FBI. And that's when he gets shot in the back. He wasn't robbed because he had money on him. He had jewelry, watch, and cell phone. Nothing was stolen. He was just shot execution style. So 4:30 or something in the morning, hitman standing outside your apartment waiting for you. Somebody knew something was going to go on, didn't they? He must have known about that FBI beating. But anyways, this is the type of history that the Clintons have that follows them around. Followed them from Arkansas. There were, I think, dead highway patrolmen. The guy that died in prison when he was about to be interviewed by 60 Minutes or something, McDougal, mysteriously died in his cell. Susan McDougal, that guy's wife, she wouldn't talk, so she went and did about 3 years, I think it was, in jail because she wouldn't spill the beans on Bill and Hillary. So she saved her life, I guess, by not talking. But that broad knows something, I'll guarantee you. And if she ever decided to talk, she'd be pushing up daisies like Vince Foster and all the other little expatriates that used to surround the Clintons. They all dropped like flies. So is this what we want in the White House? Again, and go through another X amount of years of despicability and lies. I did not have sex with that woman. I mean, I've seen clips now they're showing, and it's going to get worse over the next 3 months. I mean, they're going to be flying left and right all over the place. But you got people that play these clips of Bill and what he says when he was under the gun about the Monica Lewinsky affair. And then you have Hillary about Benghazi and about the emails and so forth. And you compare these clips side by side of what they say, and you have trouble. You think they're reading from the same script because you have the same lawyerly words that come out. I think they've trained these subversion words when they're in law school. Like I never knowingly. Well, knowingly is that's one of those gray areas. How does anyone prove what you knew or what you didn't know? Something in your mind that cannot be. I never knowingly. They use these. They use these words, and you can tell my radar goes up like crazy when I'm talking or listening to a lawyer and the way that they represent things. They love their adjectives. They throw in these things that completely distort the meaning of like laws. When they quote a law and they throw an adjective in there, that's distortion. They're trying to change the meaning of the language. And this is one of the tricks that these lawyers use. They're just using adjectives. They're not, but it's such a specious reasoning. In my case, there was an order that came down out of the district court judge's thing, completely, probably as illegal as you can get. Totally, no lawful basis for it whatsoever. And the defense attorney is the one that made up the order that this judge ends up signing. So that seems very peculiar to me. My lawyer wouldn't make up an order because we had not agreed to anything. But this despicable lawyer on the losing party side makes up this order and he entitles it Clark Feeley's proposal distribution. And I've never proposed anything. I filed a motion to get money that I was decreed. Decreed means I won a lawsuit, and in the lawsuit I was awarded money that was owed to me. The judge of the court has been illegally holding on to this money since they seized it from another state. They sold stock that was being held in another state in a trust, a spendthrift trust, and they can't do any of this. Everything this court's done has been in violation of laws, and not only just laws, the Constitution of the United States and binding controlling Supreme Court decisions. So everything the Nevada court has been done for one sole purpose, and that's to enrich lawyers from Nevada. And these lawyers that they're trying to enrich lost the case. That's the reason I had made a motion to get my money that was illegally seized from stock that was held in New Hampshire and has been sitting here for 3 years in Nevada. I want that money. That's my money that was willed to me by my dead parents. It's my money. And the interesting thing is, nobody has said it's not my money because a judge has already ruled that it was my money. So they'd have a tough time doing that. But what they do is this other despicable judge named William Gephardt, who's now in charge of this particular case, he has a propensity, if you will, an agenda to make sure that I don't get a dime, because this court's taken the position that I'm a problem. You see, I need to go away because I have the audacity to demand that the Nevada District Court uphold the law of the land. Can you imagine what a problem I've turned out to be? I mean, these judges in Nevada, they're supposed to be able to do anything they want. Nobody is supposed to question what they're doing. And when you have a constitutional law that's been in existence since the founding of this country and has never even really been questioned, it's never come up to be changed or overturned or anything else. These are fundamental principles. And one of them is that we have 50 states in this United States of ours. And when they signed on to be part of the United States, there was some give and take, if you will. The states, agreed in their constitution, their state constitutions, they agreed that federal law had supremacy over state law on federal issues. So if you have a federal issue like states' rights, state sovereignty, one state can't infringe upon another state's sovereignty. That's basic law 101. And every state agreed to that when they signed on to the federal charter to be a state. They all agreed that they would abide by federal law when it related to state positions, that they had the authority to do whatever. Everything that's not enumerated in the Constitution, and therefore federal, is left to the states. So one of the things that was left to the states is the rights for the state to come up with their own trust law, probate law, if you will. So every state enacts statutes, and trust law has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. It goes all the way back, like before the Roman days even. And over time, it's kind of evolved a little bit from what they called common law before we had the United States. And then after we founded this country and we ended up with 50 states like we have now, that the common law of trust has kind of evolved into statute law, where every state's passed their own trust law. And in doing so, they try to be competitive so that it behooves a state to attract people to create trust within their borders, because that creates money being held in, or assets being held within a particular state. So they protect those assets. That creates trust companies that oversee the trust. Maybe they manage the trust in the form of a trustee, but there's money to be made there, and there's people hired to do that. And there's money that ends up in bank accounts. There's money that ends up being invested within the state, perhaps, creates businesses, creates jobs. So having this trust money created through a trust in your state is good business for the state. It helps with taxes and so forth, so that the citizens of the state are not dinged so bad on taxes because the state's making money by virtue of having a good trust law. So all states, for the most part, try to have a good, solid trust law. Nevada toots itself, all the trust companies and trust lawyers housed in and around Nevada, they toot Nevada as being one of the most aggressive, greatest states to house trusts in. They have a self-settled trust law where you have money yourself, and you say you're a doctor, for example, they take advantage of this dramatically. They make a trust. They really control the trust, but the trust is protected from lawsuits. and creditors. And I think Nevada is one out of 4 states that have a law like this. It hasn't been tested wholeheartedly, but it's been tested somewhat here in Nevada, and so far it's held up. Usually the law, as it was created hundreds of years ago, was to protect people's property. And the way they did it was you would sign your property over to a trustee. Now, the trustee owns the title to your property, but they're bound by whatever your instructions were in your trust agreement. Let's say you were going off to war. If you were killed in the war and you didn't come back, you left your property to this trustee who had instructions in the form of your trust to give your property to whoever you identified as your heir or becomes a beneficiary. And that's the only thing the trustee is supposed to be able to do. He's bound by law to distribute your assets the way you wanted it distributed. That's your last wishes, as it's called. And anything that's a last wish of somebody supersedes everything. That's the most paramountly important thing. No court can supersede your authority. It's your money. You could give it to your cat, or you could have it buried with you. Whatever your last wishes were, it's your money, and you can do whatever you want to do with it. That's the law of the land. That is what a trust is. And the states that have enacted their own trust law, they must follow that basic principle in their trust law. And most of their laws that they've enacted and passed as public policy all support that proposition that paramountly the settler's last wishes are what counts. And that has to be on any conflict or what have you. Any judge, any court, anybody has to figure out what was the intent as designated in the trust document. And if that can be ascertained, that's what counts. And nobody can overturn that. And that's the basic founding principle of what trusts are. Well, pretty cut and dry, but my point is every state has the authority to make their own trust law. And no other state could interfere with that. Otherwise, it's ridiculous. Well, why would you have trust law? Let's say Nevada tells New Hampshire, send all the stock that you're holding there in the name of this New Hampshire trust. Send it out here to the court in Nevada so we can distribute it to our lawyers out here. They need some money so they can turn around and contribute to our campaigns for judges. That's what happens here in Nevada. So, I mean, you wouldn't have any trust law anywhere if that's the way it worked. But amazingly and blatantly, that's the way the Nevada District Court is treating the Feeley versus Feeley case. They have stolen money from a New Hampshire trust illegally, unconstitutionally. They violated binding U.S. Supreme Court decisions that have weighed in on trust matters and have designated that states have sovereignty and exclusive jurisdiction over any trusts that have been created in and governed by their laws of a particular state. No other state can interfere with that. It's trespass if they do. It's blatantly unconstitutional. This is not rocket science stuff. This is cut and dry, basic law 101. And the Nevada District Court doesn't care. They have to be reelected as judges, and they have to get campaign contributions from the lawyers that practice in their court. That's where they get money to run and be reelected. It's a corrupt system. It's absolutely broken. And when things like that are the law, that judges have to be reelected, you end up with a corrupt system that's probably as worse as it gets in this country. There's a lot of states that have done away with that electoral process for judges because it led to corruption, unspeakable corruption. What's going on in Nevada District Court here is unspeakable. It goes against your very constitutional rights under Article 14. I mean, they're taking my property to give it to lawyers that will contribute to judges' campaigns. It is despicable. This is unheard of. This is out and out robbery, not being perpetrated with a gun, but being perpetrated with someone who wears a black robe under the color of law. These are serious, serious crimes. I would say they're more serious under the color of law than going into a bank with a gun. These lawyer judges devastate families dramatically. They steal your money, and then they keep your money. And then how do you fight these people when they've stolen all your money? Uh, no lawyer is going to work within the system and not get paid, and they're not going to take on the system anyways. You can't practice in the state of Nevada in front of any judges, and you turn in a judge, or you fight a judge, or you make the judges uphold the law of the land. You become an antagonist for the judges, and they're going to drum you out of practice in Nevada. You won't be here for long. They get rid of people like that. The courts are supposed to have oversight. Well, they're supposed to rule by law, but they don't. So what happens when they don't? You have enforcement officials and agencies, the Attorney General, the District Attorney, the FBI, the Department of Justice is supposed to hold state officials accountable under the color of law, particularly to make sure that they do their job. But they don't, because they have to live in the same state with the same people that they're supposed to be enforcing, and they're all part of the good old boy network. And this is what doesn't work. This is corruption to the max. It doesn't get worse in Nevada. It doesn't. And it's blatant. They have gone so far, they just get away with everything. And that's what creates the problem for the next poor person that comes down the road, is these operatives think that they can get away with anything. They blatantly break the law. And this is sad. This is ridiculous. You have corrupt lawyers, corrupt judges, and like this lawyer that made up this heading on this order, Clark Feeley's proposal for distribution. There's no Clark Feeley proposal. My proposal was, give me my money that's been awarded to me by the court. Give me my money. That was my proposal. But the judge wanted to give my money to all the lawyers that couldn't get paid from the defendant because they didn't have any money. So the judge is trying to magically make money appear from some source that he does not have available to him. So he just makes it up. He steals money from sources that are not available. It's unheard of. It's outrageous. It's criminal. These judges should go to jail. And what we need in the state of Nevada, I'll tell you, I'm a show about solutions, right? Well, what is needed here is oversight. Now, they have a fraudulent oversight committee, if you will, set up called the Judicial Discipline Commission, I think it's called. Well, I sent in a request for oversight on this Judge Gephardt, because back in July of last year, he awarded legal fees, all about legal fees. That's all this whole thing's about, is legal fees. Losing attorneys that did not prevail in court. That way, because of that, they have no way of being paid. The defendant who lost has no money to pay. Never did have. They never should have taken the case. But they got greedy because they noticed that this particular defendant was supposedly the trustee of a multi-million-dollar trust. So that's what enticed them. That's where the dollar signs came from. So that's what they signed on to represent. Anyways, they signed on to represent this defendant who was guiltier than hell, but they didn't care because of all the money that was involved with this trust. Anyways, I just got an interesting email here talking about this very situation where people don't do their job. And we contact a senator that sits on the consumer protection committees of the United States Senate. And I was asking them, where does the protection, what do you offer? And of course, I was ignored and told that they don't have jurisdiction. Here's a senator, U.S. senator, that sits on a committee, if you will, commission for consumer protection. But he didn't have any jurisdiction. That's the excuse number 101. Whenever you go to any federal agency about anything, the first excuse that comes out of their mouth is, well, we don't have jurisdiction. It's either that or this is a civil matter. One of the two, you're always going to get thrown in your face. So when a judge breaks the law, steals your money, and violates your constitutional rights, and you go to an enforcement agency and say, look, you have to do something because this court is breaking the law. They say, well, that's a civil matter. That's their excuse. What do you mean it's a civil matter? The court is the criminal. The court has violated the laws. They're the ones that broke the laws. Now I'm supposed to go to the criminal and ask them to hold themselves accountable for the laws that they broke? How does that work? It's never going to happen. So what are you telling me? This is crazy. So it's amazing. Absolutely astounding. And that'll get rid of, I guess, probably 99% of the people that contact them. No government bureaucrat in any agency is ever going to put on their pants and do their job or something they're supposed to do if they don't have to. They have to be forced to do everything. The word from up top somewhere has to come down and tell them to do something. And otherwise, they're not going to do anything. They're going to just try to get along, not make any waves, and just get their paycheck. And, that's the way they operate. And it's a broken system because we don't have any representation in this country anymore. The people that we elect to office and send them off to do their job for us, they get hijacked. Like, for example, in Washington, the first day they show up in Washington as a newly elected congressman or what have you, they get taken out to lunch right off the bat. And they'll be brought out by an operative of the committees of the, let's say, the Congress in Washington, D.C. They have these operatives, and they'll get you to show up at this lunch as a new congressman, and you'll be indoctrinated right off the bat. Now that you're all welcome, congratulations on your election. Now we're here to explain to you how this works. You now work for us. Your people back home elected you to come here to work for us. Well, wait a minute. I thought I was working for the people. Oh no, that's just a fallacy. That's gone away years and years ago. You now work in the system here in Washington. If you want to get anything done, if you want to help your people that you think elected you, then you have to play along with us here in Washington. And we all watch out for each other, and you scratch my back and I'll scratch your back. Oh, by the way, here's a little envelope for you full of cash to welcome you to Washington and listen to the speech of how you're going to do things from here on out. Every month we'll have a little get together, a little lunch, and you'll get another envelope, and that'll help you with what you need to do here, and it will help you with your reelection. So, and this is all money that we gather from people that the real leaders of the country are the special interest groups that need our help to make sure that the country runs the way they want it to run. And so anyway, welcome to Washington, and I'll see you next month. Enjoy your envelope. And that's the way it works, folks. That's the way it works. And it's despicable corruption of government in the worst and most blatant way. But that's what we become. And don't be surprised at it, because I think all countries that have tried a democratic type system similar to ours have all failed miserably because of corruption. Corruption is the cancer that brings every government organization down. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we're at that point now. We're to stop this corruption. It's like a cancer in your body. You've got to cut it out and cut it all out, or it's going to metastasize and spread throughout your body. And as a result, you're going to collapse. Any government that goes through this level of corruption is going to collapse. You take the court system that I was talking about. The integrity of the Nevada court system is rated annually by a concern out of Washington, D.C., that rates all states by their departments. They rate the legislature, they rate the executive branch, they rate the judiciary, and 10, 12 different scenarios of what makes up a state government. They rate it and give it a grade. Well, Nevada gets an F. F is in Frank, the worst grade you can get until they come up with a Z or something. But anyways, for now it's F, and the judiciary of Nevada is rated F. So there you go. That's your proud judiciary here in Nevada. Now, don't feel too bad, I guess. I mean, that's pretty bad. But 46 other states also have an F. There's only 4 states with a better grade, and I think 2 or 3 of them are a D or a D minus even. So, this country is going to hell in a handbasket. And that's my point. And the people of this country, we were founded for the people. I actually heard Donald Trump say the very same words the other night in a speech. And I went, wow, that's refreshing. You don't hear anybody running for office to say that unless it's someone like Trump, who really is running as a citizen of the country. He's running as an American for America. And he's the only one. Hillary Clinton can't even come close to saying anything like that. She's the opposite of what an American citizen should be. And she's a despicable, thieving, conniving bastard who has sold secrets of Americans to foreign governments. She's raised millions and millions and millions of dollars, pre-raised, if you will, or raised, to buy her influence should she become president of the United States. She's already been pre-sold, and that's the problem. And she's bought and paid for by foreign governments. That's treasonous. She should never be president. She should be taken out and shot. That's what we do to treason. That's Benedict Arnold and all that back in our history. But I mean, this is tyranny. This is outrageous. And we have 47% of the electorate considering on voting for this lady is unheard of. It's outrageous. For God's sakes, man. My God. Anyways, here we are. We've got to do something. We've got to, first, the most important thing is we got to not elect Hillary Clinton. That's absolutely paramountly important. The people that are thinking of voting for her and not voting for Donald Trump, just stay the hell home. You're not qualified to vote. If you would ever think of voting for that criminal to be in the White House, you're sick. Just stay the hell home, okay? There'll be enough smart people, intelligent people in this country that will elect Donald Trump. But you dummies have to stay home. And I can remember back when Obama was running for re-election, I was watching a show on TV, a news show, and a reporter was in Manchester, New Hampshire, asking people that were lining up to vote at the presidential election. And they asked this man, who are you voting for? And he said he was voting for Romney, and then he listed the reasons why. And he rattled off in quick order like 17 profound reasons of why he was voting for Mitt Romney. They asked the lady standing in front of them, who are you voting for? And she said, oh, I'm voting for the president. Oh, why? Because he's a nice man. I mean, I fell off the floor. It took me a while to be revived. This is the electorate that we're faced with in this country. This is the most destructive force that any country could ever face, is when you give the people the right to vote, trying to be nice, to make them a voice in your government, the democratic thing to do, and you end up with dumbed down people to this level that are voting for president because he's a nice man. First of all, he's not a nice man, okay? But that's neither here nor there. The point is, he's an empty suit. He passed things in his first term that have devastated the economy of this country. He passed Obamacare, whatever that is. It's not care, it's mandated insurance. It's stuffing things down the American throats. And if you don't buy it, what does this nice man do? He fines you. That's a nice man. He gives you a penalty if you don't do what he says. That's a nice man. You're a sick lady, and you should never have voted. And that guy that you voted for got reelected, and he's caused 4 more years of devastation. So what you cause is absolutely pathetic. People like you should not vote. And I'm asking the people out there that are thinking of voting for Hillary Clinton, do the country a favor. Just don't vote. If you can't bring yourself to vote for a man, an American, that wants to restore America to greatness, if you can't bring yourself to vote for somebody like that, that wants to make America great, then stay home, okay? Because don't ruin the country anymore. We have 8 years to make up for now, and it's going to take us a couple decades to do that, I'm afraid to say. This one man with the control of Congress and Senate, like he first started out with, has set this country back 20 years. He's devastated this country. All of our jobs are gone. We've had an average of 1% growth every quarter since this madman, this nice man, has been in office. That's pathetic. That's the worst record that any administration has ever put out there. It's pathetic. This is the worst administration ever. And we're thinking now of backing this up with another empty suit? This Hillary Clinton has never done anything that's been productive. She's done things. She's devastated. There's a trail of bodies that follow her around. The DNC now has got 3 more bodies. And I guarantee you it's got something to do with Hillary Clinton. Because when you have a history of bodies appearing no matter where you go, that's not a coincidence. 1 body in your career, 2 bodies? 2 bodies is starting to push the envelope. But 20 and 30? I mean, come on, wake up. We cannot afford another 4 years of a continuation of the devastation we've already incurred. We've got to straighten this out. And we have to elect someone that's going to fundamentally change everything. Obama promised fundamental change, and he did. He took us from the greatest country in the world and made us almost a third world country. So that's the fundamental change I guess he was talking about. When he said that, I was asking friends and people associated, what does he want to change? We're the greatest country in the world, the best standard of living, highest GNP. What is it that he wants to change? Well, we found out he wants to destroy America. That's what he was talking about, I guess. I couldn't figure it out, but now the proof's in the pudding. So here we are. Now we're considering electing the first woman president. That's going to carry some weight with some people like that lady in line in Manchester. Well, he's a nice man. That same lady's probably saying, it's time for a woman president. That's probably what she's saying now. It's time for a woman president. Yeah, whatever. It could be time for a woman president. Just not that woman. She's the most pitiful person that's ever run for president, lady or otherwise. It may be time for a woman president, according to women, but it's not time for that woman. I guarantee you that never will be. So we got to send her packing. She's not healthy. I think it's pretty apparent there. Why would we elect someone who would end up not being able to serve, which would be a blessing in her case? But why would we ever take the chance? I mean, we have to be respected around the world. Hillary Clinton is not going to give us any respect whatsoever. The Russians laugh at her, the reset button. How'd that work out? I mean, everything that this person's done in the Mideast, around the world, as Secretary of State, has been a lie, has been a distortion. She wasn't there to answer the call at 3 a.m. She never has been. She's an absolute despicable person that we can never, ever elect to be president of the United States. So anyways, folks, please, please, please pay attention to what we say around here at Radio Tribune, because we're talking the truth. And if you don't think so, if you want to disagree with us, you're welcome to call us anytime. 702-493-5222. Let your voice be heard on the Be Heard. And we'll be glad to air whatever you have to say. We'll record it. You can listen to it later. Any of your friends can tune in and listen to it anytime they want. But anyways, let's get the word out there. Let's create this show to be the actual forum that was designed to be. Talk, communicate, spread the word, and let's get somebody elected into the presidency of the United States who is a real American that wants to make America great. Is there anybody out there that can tell me something wrong with that? I'd like to hear from you. Because you'd be talking baloney, I'll tell you that. Anyways, thanks for listening.
Yeah, what do you